Welcome everyone to a new open source live tested video here on our channel. Just today GCC 12 is out with, as usual, many changes. Of course, hundreds of small or maybe even thousands of small changes, including some caveats, including some ABI incompatibility between C and C++ discovered after decades in some bit fields, but that's of course not the most important. Some small stuff like computed code does require pointer type now and stuff. But other major features include continuing to support for C++ 23 or C2X, for the compiler standard library, as well as AVX-512 FP16 support, improved support for Openmp 5.0, some Openmp 5.1, Open ACC continues being improved upon. Of all things, I wonder who's using that AMD Radeon GC target. And other of all things, right, just the other quarter before Christmas, we got this to cross-compile in our T2 Linux distribution here that we maintain for 20 years and now live on this channel. Of course, ongoing RISC-V enablement, including crypto vector, vector, and bit set extension, I guess, support setBA. Is that, maybe we can check that here. RISC-V of, I should, RISC-V setBA, is it? Bitmanager looks like that, just also all the abbreviations if you're not using that daily. Then address generation, basic bit manipulation, query. Okay, so AB, there you have that, basic bit manipulation. I'm actually wondering, maybe I'm sure Claire probably implemented all of those in some formal RISC-V stuff, I would guess. I just have not seen this in Pico RV32. I'm slightly wondering if I should implement some shifting and stuff. But anyway, we digress. So otherwise, vectorization, I wonder if that works with... also major change vectorization. Previously, tree vectorization was only enabled with 03 or F3 vectorize. Now they, after decades, probably it's like, 15 years, right? Plus minus, give or take some. Now it is enabled with 02. That of course drastically changes actually our MT2. Actually, basically this is the thing, right? You would actually, of course, I scheduled that already here. Already epic thread ripping away on that. You always think, just a little bit of update, but of course then usually all the stuff breaks because only constant is change and with that regressions. But then of course also small details like that. Of course they are not weekly or yearly, but eventually I guess that means we probably, because we have actually speed and speed vectorization where we manually edit F3 vectorize as well. So forefront of technology, right? For a decade we've done that already because optimize more and smarter. Ironically, I wanted to make a video tested. Actually, I didn't even expect that, right? All things busy, and I wanted to actually make a video exactly that. I wanted actually to testing best practices. Release candidates are there to test this stuff, and I wanted to shout out way too few open source people or other commercial people test this. Of course, there's some stuff not compiling. Alright, this was this. This is when you have lots of stuff. Is that hotfix? Okay, best with. So basically I wanted to test the pre-release release candidate and wanted to shout out of more people need to test. I mean, we of course constantly basically test your stuff, and I wanted to say it makes no sense to complain. Certainly I also complain when stuff breaks, and I actually wanted to say, more people need to test it. You can't just complain when you do not do your due diligence of testing. Also, is this so wrong? Oh, this is wrong. But yeah, here we are with exactly what I wanted to recommend not to untested stuff. So yeah, next time, don't forget to subscribe. We need to test this earlier. But you see, we are vastly getting ahead, right? In 3 years left on YouTube now, we test this or ship this maybe on release day. I'm also, I think so. Do we even? Yeah, let's discuss it later. Anyway, let's first a Hotfix G5 Power 4. Darn, oh, this is our. Okay, that is a funny one. This is, they say no file to patch. What? Because this was never, this is a thing I recurrently remind, I patch the stuff, right? I send it upstream, auxiliary, GCC patches, and at the end of the day, nobody cares. And just with the P3 video, if you don't have it upstream, you need to maintain it yourself. So the file I think was RS. This naming is also stupid. I said it 300 times. This is PowerPC. This is also so crazy, right? 25 years ago, this was in IBM. They had Power before PowerPC. Most people don't know. IBM also had Power without PC, like only Power, and then they also called this RISC System 6000, right? So this is also some open source project like GCC. I mean, not so many, right? Most open source projects have like PC or PowerPC directories and files like PCC, INSN and stuff. It's like, yeah, GCC is like, yeah, YOLO, whatever. It's the 90s. We call this RS6000C, except maybe now they have renamed it. Funny. Where would maybe they have? Did they watch my video? And no, it's still config RS6000. Where was this previously? In config. Maybe they split this into. Oh, here's also another test suite. Okay, fine. Config R6K. So let's maybe. Conv-dir hotfix, like a couple of tiny little hotfixes, right? So this is like with that, so that probably basically it's also, yeah, this a year ago, right? This took me, or over a year ago, this took me like hours to debug. I think this one line, of which only one freaking enumeration thing is in there, I probably debugged on this for over 2 hours, maybe 3, something of that sort at least, just to put it in a recurring perspective here. Okay, they have they have no CC. Okay, they just have made this a C++ file. Okay, let's see the recurring theme here. Just Paul, right hand manually editing patches. Of course, feeling lucky. Jeez. Let's see how much other stuff then does not. Also, yeah, C++ stuff so amazing. It's still the fingers crossed. C code and patch. Would surprise me if they changed it more than I should have built with both. So I think every of our hotfixes still applies because it's starting to build, obviously. So yeah, let's continue going over this. So yeah, leave in the comments, should we do, I mean, I could also ask Claire, just the last month she wasn't the most responsive, so probably busy with stuff. This is why we usually like to do our stuff ourselves and not wait for other people when they are busy and not reachable and stuff. I would expect there should be some proof of concept implementation. We could also actually check that Pico RV32 Pico RISCV Pico, best without twice the typos. Is this, this is now living in under user's headquarter. Yeah, so commits. Yeah, it doesn't look like that. I need to check. Claire has a next generation, what was it? But what was the name of that? Was it Pico RV or was it Pico RV? Yeah. But yeah, people are busy. It's also the open sourcing, right? Which I try to run this channel, right? People have amazing products and then they are busy with other stuff. Need to earn money in other means, and stuff is not being continued. The most that is somewhat sad but understandable. Certainly been there, done that. So let's go over the changes that GCC is compiling. This is so crazy though. I did totally not expect. I mean, sure, we had to touch one patch, like renaming as .c to .cc. It's like, yeah, if all rediffing and rebasing would be as easy as that. So what we do now here, what this is doing is we build a whole Linux distribution, right, on an epic thread-ripping Ryzen 1550X with 96 gigs of memory and a little bit water-cooled and stuff that builds in 2.5 hours. Okay, so that build so far so good. So this is a full from scratch, reusing nothing from the host system, like fully clean, with new Linux kernel headers and everything cross-compiled from scratch. Even if it sounds native AMD64, it is not. It's full. Even it's kinda pseudo cross, or how could we call that? I mean, it's built like a real cross compiler, right? It's just like basically making like emulated or emulated cross compiling. Anyway. It's as cleanly bootstrapping and running exactly the same way as building on PowerPC. And the beauty of our nicely maintained system here with 3 years live on YouTube is, of course, we can, with a press of a key, do that script for all the 24 architecture and C library combinations. Although that takes that multiplied by, so 2.5 hours multiplied by kinda 20, maybe 20 with some non-parallel overheads, so we can, yeah, in like 24 to 30 hours, and plus of course regressions, right? Usually there were major regressions of changes, like you make even the goto, right? Even the first, I don't expect too many breakages due to that, but you never know. Maybe there might be more regressions from computed gotos now require pointer type. That might break some stuff, but yeah. So what else is new? Vectorization 02 supports shadow call stack synthesizer. Openmp, we called this out. OpenACC, I slightly wonder, do we need to enable that, or is it AMD? So OpenACC worker parallelism for AMD GPUs already for a long time, supported video GPUs, stuff, offload code generation for OpenMP and OpenACC. So yeah, that allows you to automatically offload massively parallel code to GPUs. Never tried this actually. I use OpenMP. I never tried that though. Maybe we should try that one day. So what else? ADA 2022 of all things still being developed. C family built-in shuffle vector compatibility, C language extension unavailable was added. New built-in OSOC barrier, inhibit array association floating point expressions. Dynamic object size compatible clang. New warnings, potentially misleading UTF-8 bidirectional control characters. Some new features supporting C2X revision of the ISOC standard. Digit separators S and C++. What are digit separators? Are this like underscore? Is it like to C++? Do they know underscore? I know that some people introduced a feature named digit separator and denoted by a simple quotation mark. Wow, C++ so complex even I. But the people crying fool that C++ is too complex and stuff, violating the beauty of simplicity of the C language, not. It's like, yeah, now you got the same stuff. So to read large numbers, actually that is funny. I noticed, I did, yeah, C++ so complex, I didn't even know that we have that in C++ for 8 years already. No, go away. And the irony is standards, right? I know that a decade ago people asked for underscore, and I personally never been the greatest fan, but I would argue underscore is slightly nicer also, especially because, as far as I remember, that is what Verilog for our hardware previous video, right? Verilog underscore numbers, double check that. I think I usually don't use that. Underscore shall be legal anywhere in a number except as the first character here. So with that, I really wish the languages, it's of course not the same, but it's similar concept. And why does C++ and C now need it? I mean, which even I didn't know, right? You never, yeah, languages are so complex. Even if you use them daily and do hardcore stuff like we, then you don't need know each exotic feature nobody is even freaking using. But yeah, I wish that would be an underscore, but now you have it there. lifdev, amazing innovation. I have no words. Several C++ 23, are we even building? Are we in the building? So far so good. And yeah, lots of C++ details. Runtime C++ library, improved experimental C++ 20 support, improved experimental C++ 23 support, move only functions. But yeah, for me this stuff is too complex, right? This, as it is so often, there are 24 competing standards and nobody's satisfied, and even myself, I'm somewhat struggling whether, because also not the greatest fan of Rust and Swift, somehow we don't like the most things here. So it's strangely complex, and for my taste, it's such exotic and useless stuff and adding complexity. But leave in the comments below. But with 24 competing languages, maybe it's time for 25th to rule them all. And world domination and stuff. Fortran. Yeah, so we built actually, we cross-compile. Okay, right now the first step is with C and C++ only. But the next step, we will cross-compile all the supported languages, including Fortran and other. ABI EEE long double option now selects IEEE 128-bit floating point format, libgcc, 30 new entry points, AArch, ARM, new revision, ARM v8.7a, 8.8 and 9. So yeah, if we commit this, we can already remove the vectorization options here. Oh wait, they are somewhere global. Like maybe here, and so given that, okay, size, I mean this would still be kinda valid, but I think we get rid of the special flavors. It was an idea from me a long time ago, 15 years, of why not reasonable speed with vectorization. It's pointless, no, I would say. If you want OS with something, then I wonder if it has worked the most with size. Anyway, I never tested it. I'm actually, I'm not even sure if I tested. So yeah, this was tree vectorized. So if you're interested in using that, here was that code. But you can still do the same. You can add custom options of tree vectorize if you wanted to. But I personally use Smarter anyway. Everything size except hot passes. That also means that our smart and smarter become much less. What do we owe to? Yeah, so it changes our smarter where we compile C++. The question is, do we... I need to test this. This is also the thing, right? The only constant is change and ever-changing stuff. I found with everything size except hot passes, LLM clang or lots of C++ code became slow, maybe because due to inlining of template stuff. So theoretically we should test that, or maybe even find something, because right now I'm with smarter, I'm defaulting C++ to O2, which is of course not ideal. And or did I say O2? I think I said. Actually, maybe we should check if O1 is enough. But no. But the last time, as usual, right, I burned many hours on that. The last time, I count for each small thing. But if you share, like, and subscribe, Patreon and GoFundMe and all this good stuff, super chat and super thanks and all the good stuff, then the more time we can spend on this stuff. And in the future, the irony is I wanted to help last minute testing this. And now we have the release already. So that is how time flies. Yeah, if we should in the future test this more often, yeah, give it a thumbs up, comment below. The thing is, of course, that what do you do then, right? Everything it's not only testing, it's then also filling proper bug reports and people actually caring enough about them. And that easily takes a day, right? I mean, the test run, some depending on how much regression and so far everything builds, knocking on cheap office wood. And as soon as something fails, then you are hours in filling bug reports and gathering all the information and stuff. And that is certainly why so few people do that. So Amd Debug experimental support for offloading wavefront per compute unit has been lifted up to 40 wave groups. Wavefronts per group supported. BPF, of course, of all things. New ISA extension, yeah, so that is, as in the title of this video, AVX-512 FP16. A new underscore float 16. Yeah, this type also, this typing, yeah, this should have been for decades a better standard of maybe a RISC-V Rust like int dot whatever and float dot whatever something. All this underscore capital float stuff. It's a little bit uninspiring, but so MIPS of all our good SGI stuff, although they of course mostly mean embedded these days. ABI passing arguments containing zero risk. So this we had this in the report such incompatibilities inform unless no PS ABI return call empty or something. PowerPC, internal implementation of PowerPC target specific built-in function has been rewritten, easier and less error prone to maintain. Yay, we love easier and less error prone. Let's hope it still works. And please report any problems like, yeah. Yeah, RISC-V, we have been there. Improved static analyzer for all the good security measures and proper code. GCC now initializes all stack variables implicitly, including padding. This is intended to eliminate all cases of uninitialized stack variable flows, lack of explicit initialization, still one with uninitialized best debugging, something. So yeah, there goes your extra uninitialized performance, right? You see aficionados. For best production results, a new command line. Travel auto var init theory can be used to fill various with, which tends to provide safer state for bugs. Pointers are null, strings are null filled. Should this not? Does this not by default fill with 0 padding? Somehow it doesn't sound like that. Did we not? So for best production results, why is it that's not the default? This is why I always like do compiler engineers. Some of they really like, I mean, yeah, C and C++, right? And compile engineers, the biggest love affair, or is it a love affair or a love and hate? Undefined behavior, right? That is their biggest love. And so if for best production results, a new command line option, why is it not the default if that is for best production results? Why? Can be used. I don't know. Where do they... But here they say uninitialized is automatic. Yeah, probably. I need to check. First they say initialize automatic variables with either a pattern or with zeros, create the security. The three choices are... But here they say uninitialized. And here they say... can now, or wait a second. Can, not does. Can now initialize. So you see, loving fans, you still get all your best undefined behavior and bugs and features, like the random generator. Cheers. So yeah, that stuff builds. I'm surprised, except one patch, of course. Probably takes, why does it build? So we want epic and thread ripping. Oh no, it's done. Yeah, I needed new coffee. We can have this building for some minute. We have, how many people do we have tuned in here? We have some people tuning in. Hey everyone, welcome there. Happy that you all joined here. How are you doing? Hope you're doing fine. We could add to our to-do improve smarter C++ default. I'm also slightly wondering, I included from Clear Linux some patch, and I wonder if we should drop it here, this tune in line. This is just increasing the inline unit growth from 40 to 80. To be honest, I think let's make this even better. We could just delete this, but because it is in Clear Linux, maybe maybe it is useful. And let's do it even smarter, though. Let's wait a second. Does it work for? Yeah, we could like only do that for small architectures. We could detect for small architectures with 32-bit versus 64-bit, so that if we don't increase this inline limit for 32-bit CPUs, I think that would be a pretty reasonable thing, to be honest. While we wait, the usual stuff, we could do nothing. We could play with our sums, or we could actually improve something. So let's do this later after we wait the new coffee. I need a cat for my empty chair for more views and likes and stuff. So for that we would rename that from patch which auto applies in T2 to diff, which does not auto. We could also name it foo or bar, but diff is obviously more useful. And then where you based? We're based in Germany. That is of course not a secret. You must be new to this channel. I run this Linux for 20 years, this YouTube channel for like 3, and I also have a freaking company which is Exacode, and we are based in Berlin, Germany. That is also why our internet failed so much, because we Germans can do a lot, but internet is not one of those things which, yeah. So, coffee. Where are you from, if that is not a secret? Then let's add some code, because it doesn't auto-apply anymore. And for that we use architecture x86. And here that would be size of char pointer. And then, do we have here any... Oh, here we have already that thing there. And then we add here if yeah, I mean, we could, should we make this future-proof for 128-bit? Was it not already? Didn't Fabrice Bellar already have a 128-bit RISC-V initialization? If we type here 8, the easy thing is would be to type 8. By the way, fun fact, I think if you use like numeric comparison, this must potentially be without quotes, I think, at least is what I remember. Or only the later. Oh no, this really compares, but maybe not here. Oh no, that does. Interesting. Then I remember wrong, or they changed this in the meantime. So greater than 4 to also support 128 or more bits. And then this patch file. Georgia, same goes about internet here though. Sorry to hear that, man. Yeah, so our DOCSIS cable internet in the business freaking internet, recurring subscribers know that, made multiple videos, is so bad. I literally live stream YouTube over LTE from the office because business cable internet. And the only faster, better thing would be paying $2,000 for freaking fiber, and I'm not doing that. I rather move. So, for $2,000. Arch size of character greater 4, and so that we had here inlining stuff, and that should be another tiny improvement. The defaults, I mean, I was somewhat reluctant. I didn't even benchmark that, and I should have benchmarked that. But yeah, it was in clear Linux, and I was hoping Intel knew what they were doing, but maybe that is more like for latest and greatest 64-bit stuff, so let's do that. I would say that makes more sense. The only other thing is, I wonder what happens if this patch doesn't exist, because we have some combinations that we built in older GCC, for example, decade-old AVR32. And yeah, I guess we see, I could test this now, but we could also test this later. So yeah, glibc build, that's already something. And so now we are, so now next comes also the big cross-compilation step. Which is GCC Canadian cross with all the languages. Looking for my email smartphone, and of course it is connected for the YouTube live stream. That is why. Yeah, spam, more spam, and some random nonsense. So yeah, Canadian cross. Oh, of course that doesn't work. Warning, not null, subtype log may use unlicensed function. Where is the... So yeah, so much to regressions. I was already surprised that so much built. This was already unusual, but here we go. Nothing like just getting 24 architectures to cross-compile everything just for the next release to break something. Runtime configuration. So this is ADA, so thank you very much. Oh, you know what? It is it? So this is bootstrapping with my system. ADA or ADA? Could this be system? I mean, it shouldn't, right? Should it? Runtime library configuration error. Has had semantic errors. Entity. Yeah, if you support everything, then this everything also breaks you. Bootstrap. Of course, nothing like disabling other by default. Either here or there. Okay, this was my hack from the other month. Actually, this probably doesn't. I think it wants some. I think it complains about some empty scope something. Yeah, let's try without Ada and see. Ada, actually, I should actually check the pronunciation. Yes, already. Second for. How does Google pronounce it? Ada. Okay, then Ada. It is. For you English-loving viewers at home, and Ada it was, huh? Let's remember that. And okay, that builds a little bit longer. So the whole GCC, how long did that build? So yeah, GCC build varies widely depending on architecture, code generation, and stuff, and also selected languages, obviously. I think which one was AMD 64 one of the longer ones potentially? Was it 5 minutes? Something of that sort. What else did we had? All right, theoretically we probably could up ARM 64 at least. Options. Here is some ARM. What was it? ARM V8 and MARCH 7, 8 and 9. I wonder I think the Apple stuff was Apple's M1 8.6 for the most part or something. So this would still need some. Actually, honestly, could have. It does actually not change that much if I copy and paste that one versus. Actually, the other would have been just the number. This one has actually 2 edits. That was not the smartest. Plus whatever. We need to Google that. Yep, 5 minutes on an epic thread-ripping Ryzen 1550X. I need a autofocus, what? Fine again, yeah, whatever. That's when I stand up here. So, so that stuff is building. It's mostly Ada. And let's check what ARM v8.7 brings to the table. Do they have like Wikipedia for that? Version 9. Here we have something. Oh, cool. They don't have announced an update architecture secure execution. Don't really have much there. 7, 8. Yes, often. Oh, wait a second. Oh, this is all of 8.7. Ah, here's some stuff to be announced. What? Okay, that is Apple. Ah, yes. So what I just was wondering, F15. Okay, we have Firestorm. Okay, so we are only at 8.4. I think they have some extensions there, I think, though. From ARM A6, A7. So does it mean we could check the sources that we already just why not check the short sources if the internet doesn't know a thing. The question is, do we find this quickly? Maybe not. Oops, does it? Ah, just some. They should have that in there, right? ARM V8, what was it? 8.7 was it? I think. ARM V8.7. Why does it not? Do we type wrong? Ah, wrong. ARM V8, maybe I should also. Actually, we could check for ARM 9. That is something. Ah, they have an underscore there also. Ah, here's something. So architecture and ARM. So they have some stuff here. But they don't even have something with 8.6. So why do they have the other? It's actually looking for more than that though. Option here is some .1. So here, okay, this is not as easily visible. We would need to copy and paste it to text files. We have here only 8.6. So did they not say .7 and .8? Why do we not have .7 and .8 here? It's 12.1. So they said 7. Define, but not what. FL for arch document. Oh, something failed. That is. Oh, this is. Shit, this might be just my VIing there. Thank you very much. But we can. At least it looks like this is only caused by. So much for VIing while the build is running. And here's something. This is exactly the kind of style that I have here too. So LS64, we could Google some other day what exactly that is. So T2 in 2022, better documented than Wikipedia. Whatever that is, sounds like memory, who knows, maybe we should Google. And SVE, scalable vector extension and scalable vector. Also, that is crazy, they added like 2 freaking, are they optional or implicit, or it's a little funny to start like with both. Wait a second, it's also funny, they base ARM v9 from 8.5 and not like 8.7? Apparently, maybe. But yeah, you can't say that we don't document this properly, because actually quite some effort goes into even just maintaining this kind of stuff. Then some new lines. So I wonder if we could actually, if we totally wanted, we could actually make like a whole build and publish it already. And the thing is, I'm just finally done with the other build, the like state of last month. Yeah, I guess it's still, yeah. It's of course much more tested. I guess it makes sense to first release that. Also, who knows what we find. If we build this for everything, maybe the PowerPC stuff doesn't boot or MIPS doesn't boot. You never know what kind of crazy miscompilation go on there. So what is LS64? Enable 64-byte atomic load and stores. Okay, but a load store. Okay, load store 64. Okay, that makes somewhat sense. Enable instruction for isolating memory operations like memcopy. That is it. Did I say memory? Yes, I guessed M for memory, right? Hey, my guess was half right. I expected atomic though. This is funny. So for this, I guessed atomic ops, but load store 64 is about 64 atomics, and here I guessed memory, but couldn't think of memcopy, memmove, memset. Although it is crazy, I find it really crazy that RISC-ish, not really RISC, but mostly RISC architecture like ARM64 or quite ARM. I wonder what exactly they do for that. Do they have instructions that do that completely in microarchitecture, which I would find crazy in this day and age, but you never know because it is was mobs, right? Okay, this is of course not helpful. Oops. Why did I click on that link to a new site? I wanted some technical specification. But maybe we see in this patch. No, we don't. This option is by default for. Do we have the code for that? This final patch? Add command line support. Okay, I wanted to see the actual instructions from the previous patches. Maybe parent, maybe. Set series at inline sequence for memset operations. So what kind of sequence do they have here? I mean, having that completely, okay, might not be the most readable from GCC sources. I would expect they have auto loop kind of stuff, and because otherwise it would not be RISC. I don't expect like some move string, whatever, fully micro-coded. I guess they have some. Is it this here? Move set MP. What is it? The test suite or GCC target? Mobs 3 is. This is test suite. Define set mem register. I hope the video I clicked here, sometimes Yeah, the thing of UIs, right? I must have somehow searching for my mouse cursor, clicked start recording. I hope the video wasn't choppy then, but nobody complained, so yeah. Not sure. Although this, you would expect this RX, because it's 6700 XT or so would handle that, but you never know with the video core next. So set P, set M, set E, set March, operation, ARM, set P, set M, set E, attribute. Not the easiest to decipher that. If mobs is not available or not shorter, pick a libcall. If the SEMD sequence is too long, call memset in the worst case, requiring the instructions to prepare and prefer inline. Interesting stuff. Actually, I wished I would find some ARM document here. Yes, Glaucus, GCC 12.1 is out. Did I, by the way? I could edit the title. Yeah, we built this, of course, already. So if you want the latest and greatest, you can trust on the live YouTube Linux distribution, previously known as T2. I can also change the title to 0.012.1. And does ARM Holding International not have a freaking ISA document for... Which one was it, 8.6 or... Which do we even have for mobs was 8.8. So do we find it with that, or here is, yeah, so yes, you see you Google for that and you find everything but not what you're looking for. Here's LVM. Will it be more readable in LVM? You find it everywhere. You find it in open source projects, but not official. Mode linker, yeah, we have mode linker. Is there a new version of that? Are you saying that? Or you want to build everything with a mode linker? 1-to-1. Ah, thanks for that. I love this community for this regular updates. I think I... Yeah, 1-to-1. Yeah, it could be that you don't need this support, right? You could do that before. That is true. No, I get what you mean. But we have a win-win of an update here. Should we? Let's test it. At that pace, very theoretically, we could add direct support to T2. I'm not the super most thrilled to do that. For me, linking usually is not the greatest amount of time. For feature completeness, it's like, yeah, we could add this to do that. I just did it accidentally the other day. Or other linker. So yeah, so far so good. Not the biggest breakage there. All right, we wanted to. Okay, they have here lots of variants, so all the documentation. So does it mean, here's ARM developer, look, instruction, base instruction, memory copy. Here we can set that. Okay, there are multiple memory set with text setting. Yeah. Finally, we might have documentation though. So here are the instructions, instructions for memory copy. So I guess they are then very long-running microcoded things, right? Prolog main epilogue instructions are expected to be run in succession, and to appear consecutively in memory. CPY, then CPYM, CPYE. Perform some preconditions of the arguments suitable for use with the CPYM instructions and performs an implementation defined amount or to be of the memory copy. CPYM performs an implementation defined amount of memory copy. CPYE performs the last part of the memory copy. So yeah, that is some very long running micro-coded. I mean, it's crazy that in 20, I mean, yeah, performance, more performance, but I don't know. I mean, the ARM engineers certainly are not stupid after 30 years of ARM development, but to me as an outsider, that feels so, is feeling, I mean, usually IT shouldn't be feeling, but it feels so wrong to do that in a RISC architecture. Yeah, did I say feel? Yeah, feel. It's like a gut feeling of, I don't know. This is somewhat strange to do in a new high performance CPU. Also, I mean, we're not constantly mem copying, and I mean, sure, it's used, but I mean, sure, there must be performance benefits. Otherwise, I wouldn't have added that. But I mean, the crazy thing is, even on the super most complex x86, right? Previous videos on my main channel, x86 instruction set architecture. Even there, the mem move copy and stuff instructions that we had since the 80 whatever 8086 that was what was the name of those move rep stuff, this was for decades slower, right? Maybe in the original 8086 it was the same speed, at least smaller code, but for all modern, I don't know offhand by what, but 486 definitely Pentium or Pentium Pro. For yeah, definitely like the MMX stuff, like Pentium MMX, and then from that SSE and all the P6 and so on. And then definitely all the core stuff, right? For probably 20 years, for 2 decades, the x86 repeat instruction stuff, microcoded stuff was slower than the best SIMD trickery was always magnitudes, or in order, not the magnitude, but somewhat faster. And then 2021 or so, ARMs, like, yeah, hold our beer, we add that too. So what was for decades slow for x86, now they add this. So I don't know, this feels, I think, no matter what the current state of performance is there, it's somewhat unnecessary microcode complexity that I would personally have spent elsewhere, is my experience. And only in latest x86 increasingly recurrently so complex, so it's you wouldn't, I think I wouldn't call Intel x86 not complex. I think for something as complex as Intel's x86, we should introduce some new name, like super complex or uber. You know what? I think from now on I call it uber complex instruction set architecture. And because for decades this rep move stuff was slower, like nearly magnitude slower than the best SIMD assembly stuff, now on latest microarchitectures it's at least somewhat fast, like only maybe a little bit slower than the best SIMD assembly or stuff. And they introduced a freaking bit in the CPU ID stuff to mark, hey, this CPU, like Zen 2 or Intel Core, whatever, Gen 8, 9 or stuff, we actually have a fastish rep move implementation stuff. You can use it, right? This is complexity, right? Not only for 30 years carrying this stuff around, which always was slow, but 30 years later, adding another bit field of, hey, this stuff actually is fast. It is crazy. Fast short rep move. Yeah, here fast, where is it? Here CPU ID, bit, yeah, rep move, fast short. Here you have this function level 7, or what is it? fast short rep move. I'm not making this stuff up. Intel optimization reference manual. There you have it. So yeah, Rust. So yeah, we're bootstrapping this stuff increasingly. That is certainly nice to have and see. Of course, I will commit this. We can wait a moment and then commit this. Hey, some people watching, which is also always nice. Cheers. And some comments. Dev, linking takes time. Package building, guess not as... Yeah, for me somehow, yeah, sure, if you link Chromium. The thing is also, it doesn't speed up LTO, right? So we usually build with LTO, and so there is next to not really a speed up if you build performance release optimized LTO stuff. So maybe for debugging, like non-LTO debugging fast build stuff, I appreciate the development and innovation that goes into mold and dedication and achievement, but somehow it's not something I need really. But nonetheless, we of course packaged it and stuff. Happy to tune in from Unreal Aurelian, how to even pronounce, from work. Happy and successful work there. So yeah, Rust takes a while. So yeah, that builds quite well. Surprisingly, somewhat surprisingly. So Rust, what else could we do? I nearly clicked start recording again. That we have done. I mean, the 32-bit ARM, I don't... Is there something probably... I mean, the... Oh wait, these are boards. Yeah, the sport stuff is also auto-fend. I wonder if... Historically, we had here the CPU cores, which I never was the biggest fan of. I said this in the other video. I wonder if we should... I mean, we have here some ARM7 stuff. Maybe we should switch that to ARM v whatever, like ARM64 as well. Given that I deleted my to-do the other day, maybe... Maybe I should put all changes. Oh, this also failed. Didn't... What's going on there now? So much to... x86, 64, so much to no regressions. Is that due to GCC or... Didn't run successfully debug Rust version. Ah, you look at that. It's like, oops, the Rust stuff breaks with that. That is... Ah, wait a second. Is this also... Is it the wrong... Is this the wrong... Do they try to use the system? Maybe we should have built ARM64 then. That is... I mean, we could touch that log and step over that. We don't need Rust for that much. Sorry, excuse me. Maybe I need to mute button. We can, yeah, first check what other build regressions we have. That's certainly more interesting than debugging Rust for an hour. I also need to continue with some other stuff. So that's basically, it's like here, A, testing a release candidate, to packaging the actual release thing here. But as usual, some win-win, not only updated mold, which did it build? Where is my mold? Here, build. Oops, fat fingering that. Increasingly each day. And so in which order do we commit? We could commit GCC with the config options, because this sort, I mean, or not, maybe not. I mean, they sort of belong together, but it's not like really critical. And how long should we wait? I mean, so this is, yeah, so this is serious cross-compiling now. And so far so good. We could check if we find other, yeah, we also discussed here some other ARM details. I hope you learned something. Don't forget to like, subscribe, Patreon, GoFundMe, and all the good stuff if you found this useful and enjoyed this. And we could last minute this fresh code and fresher meat, open source tracker, what? Is that this one or what? Let's see what other updates are lingering on new sites. Nothing relevant for us there. And daily Vim patch Poplar. I think, did we do Poplar? I think Data did that. And Data also already finished scouting for updates. Did we get some good stuff today? Per toy box. We should not have test built that shit. We need a data check version, no test build thing. But thankfully this, like for example for Musel that once ruined the system. Okay, we had that. And do we have, that sounds interesting. Do we have that? I guess it's not a KDE thing, then it would have been written with K. Although you can't trust that anymore anyway. Here's some number. So maybe we have that. Oh no, we didn't. I'm not sure. Maybe it didn't. No idea what data. Maybe it's strange. So yeah, builds are otherwise doing fine. Yeah, the thing is, of course, most people are not that interested in compiler. I mean, certainly people at SUSE and Red Hat and IBM and stuff probably, I mean, sure, SUSE and IBM, they have dedicated developers working all day on GCC. You would think that they, but the problem is I found a lot of these major regressions, which some we still patch, and despite multiple efforts to get it upstream, like the PowerPC G5 cell fix, you would think that someone noticed that. Of course, nobody cares about G5 and cell anymore, but I also noticed that, I mean, if I build all the stuff here, then usually some regressions pop up, usually more than like today. And I found that the GCC developer on the major Linux institutions only test like building GCC and their pet toys and stuff, and like not whole system build, right? This is why we update GCC and glibc, and then like hundreds of things are broken, where you each thing, for example, GCC broke always stuff, right? Always include files, changes, cleanups, even removal of GNUisms, this major macros recently, or like RPC stuff, and like constantly there's always something. And that is, yeah, leave in the comments below if you want that we test even more systematically. But of course, now we only build this. We could only build a compiler. That certainly would make for a better YouTube video if we only built the compiler and did some performance testing with some other external test suite, or I have some old-fashioned benchmark thing. Maybe I should put some efforts into modernizing that. But yeah, everything takes time and so on, right? So the more you share, like, subscribe, the more we do this. For most people, of course, it's more interesting to see what performance can GCC offer. But for the best performance, honestly, most people also compare apples and oranges, right? Because due to the turbo boosting nature, and even this is previous video liquid cooled and overkill build, and even their Bauer offset plate optimized, also some Perl stuff. My point is also I quite cool my stuff. It's performance boosting differently in the morning and in the night and every day. So in my opinion, like really sophisticated performance benchmarking you can only do with turbo boosting disabled and like verifying that your frequency scaling and scaling really does nothing and no boosting. Otherwise, you always compare different performance boosting characteristics as well, which I'm not sure most people benchmark not that documented that you would know from their benchmark documentation. It's probably fine. I don't need this on my untested when we had this before. It's like just too much stuff. So yeah, GCC, more bootstrapping GCC. Yeah, something's up with Ada. That is unfortunate now that we just, how should we, yeah, you would think that the previous version should bootstrap. I mean, this, I have just, yeah, 11, I mean, you would think that 11.2, the last version would bootstrap it, but somehow, yeah, that is still some homework then, unfortunately. That is not sure how to proceed with. I mean, yeah, I still have some days. Most people don't have GNUT installed, so I think I ignore it for now and see what, maybe even report something upstream to hope someone fixes it for me. I mean, not that it's not even fixing for me because I'm actually not using Ada, so I'm fixing it for you, playing along at home for you. Ada, higher quality Ada code. So, actually, we should also check that our patch apply stuff there works. We just changed. Always good to double check your shit, otherwise it usually doesn't work. Div, oops, yeah, so tune inline, so that applied, that we just conditionalized, amazing stuff. I think that is also a win, as theoretically we could commit that separately. You know what, let's do that, let's, yeah, live on this channel, right, I think we did this already quite professional for our little hobby Linux distribution 2022, doing that even more live, professional live on YouTube, which I mean committing this rename here separately, so also we need to revert that still. So Ada. Then we have this separately from the GCC update. Yeah, so that means, although it means X32, yeah, it depends on your base build for architectures that are 64-bit capable, and so it would be applied for PowerPC 64 and Spark 64, I guess, with 32-bit userland. Yeah, I guess that's good enough for now. Corner cases. Not that too many people would run this anyway. Conditional apply GCC tune and then patch 464-bit only. And then we GCC is still building. How long did this take the last time? We should have already some times here in here. Oh, freaking 6 minutes. I'm sure it became slower, but actually we could check. Also, this new delta time thing is also new live on this channel, right? We did this last year, and we can directly compare this. Actually, although it doesn't really compare because it was with potentially other builds running. But let's see what we. Okay, so this we can't compare this. This was probably parallel 5 or something. So it's, yeah, so much to that comparison, but no. So yes, looks except Ada good enough, I would say. Which the other we need to figure out another day. Our Pigeon, I think we updated something there recently. Yeah, we have that. Nano, do we have that? That's the thing, a few minutes, just like, maybe I should answer my customers' emails, but PowerShell core asterisk we could update. Do we have 236 or which of those do we have? Do we have 22? Yeah, we have 2235. 22. Need to check that. 36. Still GCC building. Also, yeah, this time it will be even longer because this time we cross-compile all the target libraries. So also Objective-C runtime, C++ runtime, Go, other, you name it. LibreSSL, we don't. Yeah, we need some need to improve our data, otherwise we will mangle our data stuff someday. Oh, this is a major. Does it even? Which, although we don't use it by default, so I could basically give a shit about the ABI stability. So this is just best effort to keep some alternatives maintained. Leave in the comments below which are you, Camp OpenSSL or Camp LibreSSL. Yeah, still building, big course. Yeah, with the thing I said so often, we could have like weekly or monthly releases, and then the last release we wanted to have on December took until now to finalize. Although most times we don't change and work on so many details, it was just overkill galore perfecting that release. Also too many architectures. Does it make sense to release it often? The question is, how do we get into the news? I wanted this time to try again harder to get into more news with 24 freaking architectures and everything amazing. And if we spam them every other month, yeah, it's probably too much time for me to maintain, and not really. It's probably like too unserious. Maybe we should target more like every 6 months. Sort of. What is even the GCC release schedule? I mean, 6 months or major. The problem is, of course, that all the stuff is not in sync, right? LVM is not in sync with GNU. So they have, when did they had, do they have a date? Oh, here they have dates. Okay, it looks like yearly kinda, or was this nearly 20? So 22, yeah, looks sort of yearly. Maybe that would make sense, 2 times a year after a major compiler release, and then the next time after other big releases and other improvements. It's still building. How long is it still building? 60. Yeah, it's already building 11 minutes, I think. Let's do it's probably a conspiracy there that the compile engineers always make the compiler slower and slower. That probably the Intel and AMD engineers and stuff, just that we purchase new hardware, right? Because the amount of. Also, this is speaking of linking. I think we are done or installing libtool. We are done. We set standard compressed something. Is that? Or is it? Yeah, so much to Epic thread ripping that. What's going on there? Hello. Set standard. Ultra, I guess. Do we? Oh, wait. I scroll locked it somehow. Shit, I hate when that happens. Strange, I still have not really found out. We were done there already. I still need to figure out where is our GCC patch. By the way, is there a new lib Uring? Oh, this is Unicode, but is there a new lib? Just a little bit. And then we call it a day. I guess we are. I guess I can commit it. IOU. Ring, do we have release 2.1? Yeah, second. 2.1, no, that is somehow getting oldish. What are those guys doing? But anyway, so yeah, so far so good. Doesn't look like the biggest breakage. I guess we can commit that. Jim was when I think C++ 20 modules will be fully supported, and is what I think about it. I mean, for me, it's not. For me, I usually don't use features when they just came out, because then you can't build it in other stuff, right? If you build this with an older Xcode, or if you build this on other vintage or embedded or other, then it's like, yeah, for me, and it's like, yeah, for me, it's did not yet look like anything I would need, and otherwise even like C++ features, sure. I mean, probably like in 2000 we were using state-of-the-art C++ template features because it was the latest and greatest and all the hot stuff. But since then I didn't really use any, like, I mean, only recently I started to use C++ templates with variable arguments, which actually quite handy for one thing we are doing. And even for that I probably waited, like, how long is it now, 6 or 8 years? Because otherwise you use features and then you can't use your code in other commercial or even last year's Linux and stuff. It's like, yeah. But in general, I'm not the most impressed with all the features of the C++ development the last. I mean, first there wasn't development for a decade, and now there was strange development for a decade. That is basically how I would summarize the C++ development the last 20 years. But as usual, if that triggers you with better feedback, leave it in the comments below. I guess we can commit that like that, and oh, this is also the wrong. Oh, this was config in. Something of that sort. Alright, and then what was that here though? Alright, this was it libatomic or boot? Okay, this was that one. Okay. No syntax that we should. Maybe I should actually test that. Not that we commit this with syntax errors. Looks okay though, but you never know. Guess it looks alright. So that was 7. I don't have Rust. I wonder if the same occurs when we build for ARM64 or any other architecture. Yeah, Rust, I realized that. I mean, the only other thing we only have this for Firefox, which is sad and annoying. So everything else should build. But that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this and learned something. As always, looking forward to your comments, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, and hope to see you soon for more such fun stuff to come.